All right, this lesson is on adding integers, and this is a very important concept in pre-algebra. It's the foundation of what we're going to be doing for the rest of the year, so pay really close attention to it. When you notice your assignment, you'll notice there's a lot to it. That's okay because this is a very important concept for you to understand. And so we want to make sure that you've got adding integers down pat because you're going to be using it for the rest of the year in pre-algebra. How to keep those rules straight in your mind. All right, so the rules for adding integers. If the signs are the same, find the sum. And you should remember that the sum is the answer in addition. That's right, addition. So let's look at this first example. It says -3 plus -5. The signs are the same, -3 and -5. So here's a model of it. -3 plus -5. So there are 3 negatives here and 5 negatives here. We add those together. We've got 8 negatives, -8. Over here we have +3 plus +5. And so I wrote 3 positives and 5 positives. And since they're all alike, we add those together and we get a +8. So if the signs are the same, find the sum. Now, sometimes with integers, the signs are different. And the rule changes a little bit. If the signs are different, you find the difference. And who can remember what the difference is? It's the answer in subtraction. That's right. So the answer in subtraction. So when the signs are different, you're going to find the difference. There are 2 steps to that. First, you're going to subtract the 2 numbers from one another, just like you would subtract it in any time. The larger number, the smaller number from the larger number, without thinking about the signs that are with them. Then you're going to use the sign of the one with the greatest absolute value. Now, this is what we're doing is called the additive inverse. So I'm going to review that with you first before we go back and solve those 2 problems. The additive inverse is when you add the opposites together to create a sum of 0. And we call this a neutral field. So in this problem, if I had -3 plus 3, I would have -3 plus 3. But a negative and a positive together create a 0. So -1 and +1 would create a 0. If I had a -1 and I moved to +1, it would create a 0. If I had a +1 and I moved towards -1, it would create a 0. Okay? So it creates a neutral field or a 0 field. So this is called a 0 pair. And we have here a neutral field. Now let's go back up and use that in solving our problems here. All right, this says -3 plus 5. So I've written out 3 negatives and 5 positives. I'm going to create 0 fields. Here's one of them, here's another one, here's another one. So what do I have left over? I have left over 2 positives. So it equals 2. Now thinking about these rules, if I subtract 5 minus 3, I get 2. 5 has the greatest absolute value, so therefore it's a +2. Now let's look over here. Thinking about the additive inverse again, 3, +3, plus a -5. So I have 5 negatives. But this, each are 0 fields, 0 pairs, creating neutral fields. So I have left over 2 negatives. So the answer would equal -2. Now that's pretty simple to do, this drawing, when you're when the numbers are small, but when the numbers are bigger, you have to do something different. So you need to remember the rule. So again, I would say 5 minus 3 is 2. But when I look at it, the one with the greatest absolute value would be 5, and 5 is negative, so the answer is negative. Those are the rules for adding integers. You are going to do check understanding, numbers 5 through 12. I would relook at 1 through 4 because it's all about looking at the models and interpreting them. So you might want to look those over and make sure that you know what you're doing there, because you're going to draw models and then you're going to use the rules to find the sum. Okay, now we're going to check page 26. In the first half, it asks you to draw a model and solve the equation or solve the expression. And so it was 2 plus a negative 5. So I wrote 2 positives because 2 is a positive, and 5 negatives. And a positive and a negative make a 0 pair. So we lost 2 0 pairs and had 3 negatives left over, so it was negative 3. In number 6, we had 5 negatives and 2 positives. Again, we made 2 neutral fields or 0 pairs. So our answer was again negative 3. In number 7, we did 5 positives and 2 negatives, but we ended up with 2 0 pairs, and so we had 3 positives left over, and the answer is 3. And in number 8, we had two negative numbers, negative 5 and negative 2. So there were no 0 pairs, so we had negative 7. Now on 9 through 12, they ask you to use the rules to solve these problems. So the first one was negative 26 plus negative 39. And the rule says if the signs are the same, find the sum. So we added 26 and 39 together and used the sign that each of them had, which was a negative. So the answer is negative 65. On number 10, there was a negative 40 and a positive 93. So it says if the signs are different, find the difference. So I subtracted 40 from 93 and got 53. And since 93 has the greatest absolute value, it's a positive 53. I used the sign from the 93. Number 11 said 235 plus a negative 420. Again, we have to find the difference because the signs are different. So I subtracted 235 from 420 and I got 185. But the 420 has the greatest absolute value and it is a negative, so the answer is negative 185. And last but not least, in number 12, gave you the integer 100 and its opposite. And if you have its opposite, then you're creating a 0 pair. So 100 plus a negative 100 is equal to 0. All right, if you have any questions, come in and talk to me tomorrow. Your assignment in class tomorrow will be page 26 through 28, 13 through 49 odd, 53 through 67 odd, and 74 through 81 all, which is some review. We're doing a lot in this because this is a very important concept for you to understand, and so we want to make sure you get lots of practice. Okay, see you in class tomorrow.